Thank you, everyone, for coming to Affan at one day at the United Nations presentation. Thank you, Professor Lindenmayer, for giving this great opportunity. Before I begin, I want to tell you that while I was trying to print my speech, I ended up printing a copy of myself. I hope you don't mind, as this less handsome version of myself accompanies me today at my one day at the UN.
Thank you, Affan, and thank you to Professor Lindenmayer. And thank you
To the UN Studies Specialization.
and to the UN Working Group.
And thank you to Dean.
James Dean. Beautiful man, died young, very sad. And thanks to Merit.
Oh, crazy meritocracy for giving me this opportunity.
But really, thanks to the administration.
The Truman administration for helping us establish the United Nations. And last but not least, thank you to
Professor Lindenmayer.
I was so excited about my one day at the UN because, I was going to shadow the Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon.
But when I got there, I discovered that he had gone missing while taking a leak. I was deeply concerned.
So then I found out that the Security Council had authorized a peacekeeping mission with one peacekeeper and Emma Watson. What a lucky peacekeeper.
So I decided to help them out, and I was standing there in delegates' lounge, drinking my Tropicana orange juice, just a little pulp, when the ambassador from Iran comes up from behind me and knocks it out of my hand.
And I was like, what the fuck, yaar? And the gentleman from Iran said, don't you know? There is a war going on and we must drive all the juice into the sea. Do you know how much sugar there is in this one bottle?
Turns out the Iranians are a very misunderstood people. They are not anti-Semitic at all. They're just very worried about type 2 diabetes.
After
Which,
all
as
that
we
juice,
all know, is the fault of the juice.
of course. After all that juice,
क्या बात है?
Yeah.
क्या बात?
Shush. After all that juice, I really needed to pee. So I'm standing there, updating my social media.
Hey, bhai, selfie. Oh,
Take,
chalo.
take with everyone, na?
Twitter and all.
Oh, we can't get them. Oh,
Follow me now at Affan Javed.
exactly.
Instagram and Twitter.
He says, brother, can I talk to you? And I'm like, eyes up here, bro.
And suddenly he just lifts me off my feet and starts picking me up and putting me down and picking me up and putting me down. And I'm like, why are you doing this, yaar? And he says, can Obama do this? Can Obama do this?
And I was like, okay, Mr. Putin, you're very strong. But I already have a bad back from the time Tim Hodge attacked me.
So then I heard some crying coming from another room and I went there. And what do I find but a very well-dressed artichoke called Ban Ki-moon.
Shh! Don't let anybody know I'm here, he whispered. So I asked, but why are you hiding in here?
And he said, crying Affan, I didn't want this job. Sometimes I just come up here and hide. Last month they thought I was in Afghanistan. I was actually sitting in the bathroom with my Dora the Explorer activity book. I have, and I cannot emphasize this enough, very little idea what I am doing most of the time.
And I said, it's okay, sir. You just have 1 year left.
And he said, no, Affan, you don't understand. We have no money left. We invested it all in a social media platform for the Islamic State. Cover your Facebook.
He cried.
It turns out selfies are a very misleading concept in that place. Nobody knew who their friends were.
And then he cried. He said, we have no money anymore. All the UN staff is now on Uber driving contracts. We even had to put the Security Council chamber on Airbnb as a really big studio. So far, no good reviews. No good reviews, Affan. It's all about the reviews on Airbnb.
He said things are so bad that Kofi Annan is bartending in Williamsburg. Have you tried his Bloody Marys? They're bloody awful.
We sold all the UN translation equipment to North Korea. Kim Jong-un now speaks into a microphone and gets to listen himself in 180 different languages.
We had to sell the N in UN. Now it's just you. ISIS bought it. They're called Nices now. They're not Nices at all. They're not Nices at all, Affan. Our special representative in Malawi is a tree with a face painted on. His name is Tree Face. Tree Face, Affan! But really, Tree Face is doing some very good work down there for the SDGs. Like, really amazing, amazing stuff.
And like that, he stopped crying. I held him in my arms and I said, Ban, I'm going to call you Ban now. When I'm down, I just remember this one thing. I'm not in Merit Geno's shoes.
And he stood up and smiled and said, "Thank you, Affan." And that was my day at the United Nations.
Now let me find you a shredder.
Okay.